I'm making another one. Should I have like an intro for these kind of things? Nah. So, I was actually a little surprised at how many people were interested in the previous tea time. So I thought, you know what, this is easy for me to make. Second, you guys seem to like it. And third, I realized that I love this kind of content. I mean, like, it's borderline podcast, but really it's more of a like you know the big video that Jacksepticeye and Aaron Hansen did where they're just sitting and talking to each other and it's just real. That's the content I love. That's what I enjoy the most. And I watched through that entire thing. I loved every second of that, and I realized that I should be making content that I legitimately enjoy consuming, and not all of that is just heavily edited think pieces or video essays. So now you're gonna get some of this. So something I wanted to address from the last video is a lot of you guys were like, hey, why don't you make a Patreon? Do that. And when I read that, I was initially very upset because I've had a Patreon for a long time, and I have been talking about it at the end of all of my What Happened To videos recently. And at first, I'm like being a grumpy grump, but the truth is that when I think of it, I have to accept that that means I'm not placing it in the right place. Because I like to be polite when placing these kind of things, like, hey, check out my Patreon. I have a Twitter. Like, usually I'm smarter about it. I'm like, on my Twitter, I talked about this, and then I have a link to my Twitter. And that helps out a lot, and that's that's less in your face. And you see a lot of these YouTubers shove, hey, here's a quick little self-inserted ad spot promoting our own stuff. And it's annoying, and usually I skip those. A lot of people skip those, let's be real. And we know that people skip them. But it's necessary, and this is just evidence. I mean, I have been talking about it. People don't check the description, except for one person. Had one person contact me, said, hey, I actually checked the description, and like, I love you. You're fantastic. I forget who you were. I'm not going to check. You're awesome. And so now, at December, I'm going to be inserting that more. And when I say that, like a lot of you guys are going to be like, why December? Why not do it now? The reason is because I have all the What Happened To videos for each month done up until December. Actually, including December. And a lot of you are like, excuse you? Is it really that easy for you? No, it's not. The plan was I use all of summer to just have no life and make What Happened To videos for like for a semester. Like last year, I managed to get a What Happened To video for 2 semesters up until the next summer, until I realized that my quality of videos were increasing, and then I deleted the other 2, and I realized, crud, now I don't have it. And now that I'm actually like really trying to watch through these shows that I'm reviewing and give a honest to God review, it's not as easy for me anymore. I'm putting more work into it. I'm putting more effort. And with the videos through December, I had a smarter idea. I had topics and videos for topics for the franchises that I have been wanting to talk about already, that I've already watched. So next month is going to be Ever After High, because that is extremely underrated, and I adore that show, and I am still angry about what happened to it, and the world needs to know about my anger. And I have all those videos done until December. Some of them are things I actually had to watch a little bit, but it's not as difficult to watch it, so that's nice. And now I'm going to actually work on Totally Spies and watch as much of it as I can. The problem is that right now I'm 1 week away, I'm less than a week away from classes starting. So it's also a big thing of I prepare all these videos for the sake of I can focus on classes without distracting myself with, I need to get a video out, otherwise my channel will die. So, that's a concern. It's always a concern. Speaking of videos that are like this, that are like, just sit down and talk, what was it, Shadiversity recently released a video where he interviews Brandon Sanderson, who is an author, in case some of you guys don't know. And I have the issue of being incredibly jealous of people that are successful. Like, I am so jealous of Stephen King, I'm jealous of Brandon Sanderson. Anybody who has already, like, made it, in the sense, and because I'm just horribly envious. I just want to be there. I just want to be at that level. Still working on it. And that's a big aspect right now. I'm like doubling down on my book. I'm just cranking it out right now. If anything, at the very least, just to get it done. Not perfect, just done. Because I know I have this one and one more book to do, and then the entire quadrology is finished. And I'm so close to being done with a third book. I'm just on the cusp. There's just a few. Every time I keep going back to write, I'm like, no, I have to address this thing. No, I have to address this thing. That's gonna be another chapter. Hang on. And it's like, okay, it keeps getting longer and longer. But I'm like, it's like the play bar and the loading bar in YouTube is just getting a little bit farther, and eventually they'll meet if you have bad internet, and it'll meet eventually. But I'm getting there. And so now that interview he did with Brandon Sanderson is fantastic because it has information that you're not going to find for like self-publishing and publishing in general. And so now that went directly into my favorites playlist, because now once I'm done with my books, I'm going to go back and reference that and just see what I can do. I don't know. It's that kind of content that I enjoy the most. And it's an hour long. And like the moment I looked at it, I'm like, it's an hour. Do I really want to invest an hour? Ew. And I did. The moment I started, I'm like, this is the most entertaining I have gotten in a long time. This is the most entertainment I get, because I'm even playing, I don't get that kind of entertainment from a lot of video games I play nowadays. Like, I played through the Golden Deer House in Fire Emblem, loved it, and now I'm playing through the Blue Lion House, and I got to, it's still pretty recent, I'm gonna stop there. And now I'm playing through the Blue Lion House, and I'm getting to the point where I'm like, I'm getting kind of bored, especially since they have the thing, and I'm gonna reference this in the video that I'm going to make. The calendar system, where you have like 3 days of just, you can either explore, battle, or do whatever, I hate. Like, I like how it contextualizes everything, but it makes it so slow. And it gets really annoying, and eventually gets to the point where I'm like, just rest every day. Just rest every day. I don't care. Just get on with the freaking story. If you're interested, check out Shadiversity's video. Also, just, Shadiversity in general. He does cool things. If you like medieval stuff. It's funny because I released the Is Breath of the Wild Overrated recently, which I hate the title of it and I hate a lot of the titles that I come out with because it sounds like I'm just going to be complaining the entire time, when it's actually a scripted, very thought through review, and I don't know if I should call it a video essay or a think piece. I think it's closer to a video essay than anything else. And it's not performing at all. Like, it's in the dumpster. It's in the dumpster in terms of how it's performing, which I kind of expected. Like, you cannot rely on controversy anymore on YouTube when you're starting out. People just aren't as appealed to that. There's some people who have mastered it and are already big, but trying to get into the YouTube sphere now, based on controversy, is so much harder now, because you need to have that platform. You need to have that all pre-established credibility. Otherwise, people are not going to listen to you. You're just some schlub doing whatever. And though I know that my videos aren't actually controversial, or at least I'm not trying to make them controversial, it still sounds like they are, and that takes people away. But the truth is, with the Is Breath of the Wild Overrated, it's a legitimate question, because the concept behind it is Breath of the Wild is so good that we should not be comparing it to previous Zelda games. It is in a whole other level. It is closer to the AAA competitors that other platforms have, and so we should be comparing it to those kind of games. And when we compare it to those kind of games, it is kind of falling flat in a lot of areas. And that's the biggest point I wanted to try and get through in that video, and people aren't really watching it. I mean, the people who are watching it, I mean, I'm looking at the analytics, they're really watching it. Like, it's, like, YouTube is telling me, dude, you don't get a lot of views on this one, but the people who are watching it are watching the majority of it. Like, it is, I'm really happy about that. That at the very least, people are actually engaged in it. And at least there's some solace in that. But I put such a disgusting amount of work into that one video. And it's a flop. And I kind of expected it to be a flop. You know, it doesn't really push. It doesn't really spread as much. I may do the smarter thing and talk about it in the middle of some of my other bigger videos that I know will get more hits. Just because I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of it. I don't know what to do about it. That's really the only thing I can. And promoting my own videos is like a problem, because I hate having to go on Reddit and just put my videos on there, because there's this thing with Reddit where it's like, hey, no self-promotion. And I'm like, okay, I get it. There's some scummery out there. There's some scum that just want to make it big. But at the same time, at least from my angle, I want to contribute to these communities, and this is how I contribute to these communities. I make these analytical videos. I make these retrospective videos. This is what I do, and I want to share it with you guys. But it is technically seen as self-promotion, and I don't know how to get around that. And so many of the times that I try to post on Reddit, they're like, hey, deleted, get lost. And I'm like, okay, great. I mean, it's a necessary evil. Like, I understand, but it's still difficult. I don't know how to convince them of, hey, this is me trying to help. And it's upsetting for me. But I don't know what to do. And I have my Twitter, I have my Discord, and those are the people that are, like, much more hardcore viewers of the channel. Which, thank you guys, by the way. By the way, I have a Discord. If you want links to all my social media, it's always in the description. I put all of everything in my description. It's funny, too, because there's so many people with... I don't know what video, but there was one video where I used the same music I've been using in all my other videos, but for this one specific one, it attracted so many new people where they're like, hey, where'd you get the music? Where's the music? It's really good. And I'm like... It's been in the description of every single one of my videos for years now. I've been using the same music for a long time. Simgratina. He doesn't post a lot of videos or music anymore. He does every once in a blue moon, like he's still active enough, but Simgratina is the guy whom I got the music from. And he had like 3 or 4 songs that he just made copyright free. And I'm like, oh my guy. Mwah, I'm using these, and so you should check him out. Like, he makes good stuff, especially some what's the word? Electronic jazz, swing, electro swing. That's the word. He makes some good electro swing. Swing is a genre of music that should come back. That's some good music right there. I love that. So, in terms of just fun topics, not really personal ones, because I want to make this kind of tea time series more fun, instead of me just having a video diary of me complaining of things or talking about my issues. Right now, I am reading The Rise of Kyoshi by F.C. Yi. I have to make sure I say Yi, because I want to say Li all the time. I am shocked at how good this book is so far. I am only about halfway through, and it's kicking butt. Like, the first half is just so great. I mean, it talks about Kyoshi, Avatar The Last Airbender Kyoshi, by the way. And just learning more about the character, and the writing is smooth, and I can just blaze through it, no problem. It's fantastic. I'm at the point I am right now, it's getting a little bit of a downturn, because he introduced 5 new characters after I just went through the struggle of learning all the already established characters, and I'm like, okay, it works. Like, it works in terms of the story, but it's like, it's a bit of an annoyance for me as a reader to have to learn all these more characters. But yeah, I recommend it if you're a fan of Avatar. After this, I plan to read... They re-released the Shadows of the Dark Crystal books by... Where is it? J.M. Lee? For the new Netflix. It even has a little Netflix thing on here, which I hate. I hate when they print... I mean, if it's a sticker, fine, whatever. But if they print it on there, I hate it. And I plan to read this because I do love the Dark Crystal. The reason being, in the last days, I was with my grandfather before he passed away from stage 4 cancer, which crawled up on him out of nowhere. He went to the doctor one day feeling kind of pretty okay, just not 100%. And then he said, oh, by the way, stage 4. Oh, so that was kind of a smack to the face to everyone. So when we were hanging out with him before the inevitable day to come, we watched some movies, and he wanted to show us the Dark Crystal, because he gave me the Blu-ray, and I'm like, I forgot to watch it for a whole year. And he's like, I'm like, let's watch it. Let's sit down and watch it. I like the Dark Crystal, but I have to admit, it's a bad movie. Like, it has so many flaws and problems with it. So now I have that, sentimental value with the Dark Crystal, and I have to consume as much as possible. I read a lot of the comics. I kind of stopped reading the comics because they talked about, oh, the Netflix is doing a series. And I'm like, okay, when? And we didn't know for the longest time. It just said it's in the works. Just like the Avatar live action one, which I'm not excited for. But now that they have trailers, they're pushing it. I'm like, there we go. And now after I finish the Kyoshi book, I'm going to be reading the Dark Crystal books. And I am almost certain it's not based on these books, because it looks like it's in after the events of the movie, and this is a prequel. But I'm okay with it. The comics take place after the Dark Crystal movie, which is, they did a good job with the comics. Those are solid. And yes, I am one of the guys who found out about it through the Odd Ones Out after he made that one video about it. Which, thank you very much, James. I don't know. I feels weird calling him by his first name. Thank you very much, The Odd Ones Out. That also sounds wrong, because everyone calls him James. Thank you, person on YouTube who also enjoys the Dark Crystal. Now, with another piece of thing that I want to talk about is the guy in China who smashed his PS4 in protest. And if you don't know about this, I learned about all my gaming news from Inside Gaming, so I'm probably going to talk about the stuff they cover every once in a while in these videos. But to catch you up, there's this convention in China, and they showed this game called Genshin Impact by Miyoho Studios or something. And people looked at it and said, dude, that looks like Breath of the Wild. That looks like people actually accuse it of ripping assets from Breath of the Wild. Not only just the gameplay and how similar it looks in general, but it also just seemed to steal or copy, which is illegal, but I don't think it really went that far. Based on what I've seen, so I'm not going to parade around as if that's true. But a guy in China was so upset that Sony would let this on their platform that he smashed a PS4 in front of everyone. And the moment I heard that, I thought, has this guy not learned of the Streisand effect? Does he not know about reverse psychology? Because the moment you ban a book, everyone wants to read the book. The moment you protest against a movie, everyone wants to see the movie, even if it's bad. The moment you smash a PS4 in protest, people want to know what game it is that makes you so upset. And now, everyone went to the trailer just to see what is with this game, and everyone went, this game looks really good. Even me, I'm like, this game looks really good. Because when you think about it, like, all the controversy aside, if it is just another Breath of the Wild, that sounds great. I love Breath of the Wild. I mean, I know my video kind of makes it sound like I hate it, even though I have to reference twice that I do like the game in the video. But having a second Breath of the Wild with cute anime girls, that sounds great. It kind of threw me off when I heard Chinese instead of Japanese, because I'm just so used to seeing anime in Japan and making that connection. So that was a bit of a not disassociation. What's that word that's usually associated with music? Whatever. Disconnect. I'm just gonna go with disconnect. It was weird, and I'm like, I kind of now that I listen to Chinese a bit, I kind of like Chinese, like the way it sounds. more than I do French, because it has when I think of languages, I think of strong versus soft. And with like strong languages are ones that use a lot of consonants in order to separate their words. Like English or German or like Japanese. It's very hard. When with French and Chinese, they have a lot of sh and a lot of hui, things that aren't consonants, and it flows together, which is the point, but it makes it more difficult to learn, and it makes it more difficult to hear the separating sounds. So that's what I think of in terms of soft versus hard languages. And I hate soft languages, but for some reason I like Chinese. And I'm scared to try and learn Chinese because it's Chinese. But in terms of like the modern day kind of world that we live in and how big China is, especially in terms of business, and that I'm a business major, that sounds like a smart idea. I don't think it'll help me too much, but just having that under my belt would probably be great. And now I kind of want to play Genshin Impact. And I plan to. And to end this off, one thing I wanted to address was I was afraid in the previous video when I talked about how I wanted to make YouTube my job and stuff, make it a career, and how I can't. The reason behind that is, one, I love doing this, but two, I realized this just last night. I am horrified of entering the regular workforce. And it's not because I don't like working. I mean, I do YouTube and write books and do university. Like, it's not a problem of I don't like working. It's a problem of my dad works as in a medical device company, and he came home so many days looking just so defeated after the company that he worked for was bought and the new management changed everything, made everything harder for him to do his job. And you could just see so many other employees he was working with quitting because of how terrible the acquisition was. And he had to work from 6 to 7, and I could just see it eating away at him, and I told him to just quit, but he said he's not going to, because having the safety of a job is just too valuable to him, and I get that. And just seeing it eat away at him, that affected me. But more importantly, what affected me was my mom becoming a nurse, going through college, becoming a nurse, and coming home next to every single day crying because it's just so cutthroat being a nurse. It's horrifying being a nurse, and she had no idea about this before going into the business. You have... First of all, the patients are kind of jerks. That's an issue, but that's going to be a thing everywhere when you're dealing with other people. I mean, it's understandable. They're kind of in a desperate situation. They're emotional. But you also have the issue of the doctors who don't do as much as the nurses, talking down to the nurses because they feel superior. And you have the other nurses being cutthroat against each other because that's just the kind of toxic environment they're in. And my mom couldn't handle that for the majority of the first several years. And so that scared the crap out of me, and I just felt bad for both of my parents. And then I tried sitting myself down and going, I should try just to have a real conventional job, and I went into fast food. I started working as a cashier. That was some of the worst time in my life. I mean, it wasn't that bad when I was working, actually, the more aggressive shifts, with like lunch rush and the morning breakfast crowd. Because the employees I was working with were different. They were much more friendlier, much more realistic. And the later shifts in the afternoon was with some guys who made the entire experience terrible. And that's when you learn that half of your mood in working a job is just the people you're working with. Like, you can be a slave, but so long as you are friends with some good other people, it's not going to be as bad. Like, it's even if I understand that's a bit of an extreme example. I'm not trying to justify slavery. I'm not saying just give them friends. I'm just saying that half the battle is who you're working with. And after those 3 experiences, now I was subconsciously terrified of getting a normal job. And so being independent and working for myself sounded like the best avenue, even if I'm sitting inside all day, getting cabin fever, and going stir-crazy sometimes, just because I felt safer. And having that realization just really put things in perspective for me, and I'm trying to say that out loud, mostly for myself, in order to try and get over this fear, but it's still there. And it's at this point where I should probably stop talking because this video has been going on for a while, so Thank you for, if you managed to get this far, thank you for watching this entire thing. You're awesome. You know what? Leave comments. I mean, not for just engagement. Like, if you want me to talk about something or you want my opinion on something, this is like the best avenue to do it. So leave some open-ended comments, not just your, hey, what's your favorite color kind of comments. Like, hey, what's your opinion on this topic that is happening? Don't make it anything political, because I will ignore those. I'm not going to shove politics into this. I'm going to shove life lessons if I can. And I'm only 21, turning 22. But, you know, everyone has some sort of knowledge. Everyone has some sort of wisdom. So if I can help some other people through whatever it is they're going through, I will. So that's everything I got for this video. Thanks for watching. Stay beautiful and keep playing.